What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you a brand new video. Today's video is going over quarterbacks and running backs to target in Week 5's DraftKings main slate, primarily for cash, but also going to throw in tournament plays as well. So starting it off, Josh Allen, obviously, against Houston. Now, it is kind of worrisome now that Khalil Shakir has missed 2 practices. This video is going up Friday morning, so I'm not sure at this point if Shakir is going to play or not, but 2 practices in a row not there is worrisome. But if he is there, I like Josh Allen. I like this Buffalo in a pretty good offensive game between Buffalo and Houston. So Josh Allen obviously there. Lamar Jackson I think is a really good tournament play. Plays well versus Cincinnati. He's been on fire lately. Cincinnati's pass defense has kind of been shaky lately. We just saw Andy Dalton have some success against them. Kansas City had success. So we've seen some teams up and down both have success against them. Now you get Lamar Jackson. Mike Hilton looks like he's going to be out, so that's a huge blow for Cincinnati's secondary. Anytime you miss a starting corner. CJ Stroud, though, I think is, in my opinion, a cash play against Buffalo. Buffalo's secondary's played well, but in a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, I really like Houston's offense. Don't know the status of Tank Dell. Houston obviously dealing with some injuries top to bottom right now, but as a whole, I like Houston's offense. I think CJ Stroud's a cash play for me. Going down, the next guy, Jordan Love, at 6,500, I think is a great cash play against the Rams. Watson looked like he's going to be out. Possibly Romeo Dobbs, but I'm not sure about that one yet. But Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave might be out, so we might get Tucker Kraft at a value. But Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, possibly Dobbs. So I really like it against a secondary that's just been getting beat a lot in the past game. And even though Jordan Love had three interceptions last week against Minnesota, he was still 34 DraftKings points, 4 passing touchdowns, almost 400 passing yards. So I like Jordan Love in this matchup. Joe Burrow, same thing in that division game where Baltimore's given up quite a bit of passing yards. Seen Joe Burrow last 3 weeks be pretty consistent, over 30 passing attempts. The yardage has been there, 2+ touchdowns each of these games. So in this one, I do love both sides, honestly. I don't necessarily think you need either for cash, but they're really good plays nonetheless. Next is Brock Purdy at 6,200 against Arizona. This one's clear. Arizona's defense, I've mentioned it from the start. They have a bottom 5, bottom 10 defense in the league. They just don't have the pieces yet. Now you face a division opponent on the road. Big total. I think it's a highest total at 50 was the last time I looked. In San Fran's favored by 7.5 now, I believe. I believe Kittle is the only person supposed to be missing. So you're going to get Debo, you're going to get Juwan Jennings, you're going to get Ayuk. Soon we're going to get Ricky Pierce also. Interested to see what that San Fran offense looks like. Obviously, could be dealing with some defensive injuries, which makes Brock Purdy playable for the run back option, but it seems like Vegas thinks that Arizona is going to be able to put some points up on the board as well. Anthony Richardson, you're watching his health status. If he's good to go at 6K, you're getting a discount on Anthony Richardson, honestly. Started at 63, went up to 68. Obviously hurt last week against Pittsburgh, but against Chicago, only 7 fantasy points. Really haven't seen the rushing upside we all thought we'd see, but against this Jacksonville defense, this could be a huge division game for Anthony Richardson at a discounted price. Geno Smith, of course, Geno Smith, the league leader in passing yards, is playable. Kind of seen him against, a good Denver defense, good New England defense, against, a Miami team that not good offensively, but some defensive pieces missing there. And then the huge game against Detroit, even though they lost, Geno Smith still had a really good game, almost 400 passing yards. Ken Walker took over, so he only had 1 passing touchdown, but 25 DraftKings points. So Really like Geno Smith in that matchup. I think Caleb Williams is worth mentioning again in tournaments at 5,800 against Carolina, to where Carolina's just given up so much yards on the run that we don't always see the biggest passing games out of quarterbacks. But it's worth it in a tournament. Their defense is just bad. Trevor Lawrence is definitely worth mentioning this week at 5,700 against Indy. Indy been dealing with some health issues, especially defensively. My only worry for Trevor Lawrence is this has kind of been the norm for him, right? They've been using Tank Bigsby a lot. They've been using Travis Etienne. Dearness Johnson's gotten some work. The passing game is just, we have not seen, you draft Brian Thomas Jr., you bring in Gabe Davis. We have not seen that pass game be the pass game it should be. So maybe in this one, a division game, we see it, but I don't know if I could trust it in cash yet until we start to see some more results. But with that being said, with Anthony Richardson, if he is out for whatever reason, you get a nice discount on Joe Flacco, 5,500 there. Continue to go down. It's worth mentioning Deshaun Watson versus Washington, their bad defense. It's just a price point, 5,300. And that pretty much sums it for quarterbacks. Running backs, Derrick Henry against Cincinnati. Yes, he's been on a tear lately. The last two games, over 30 DraftKings points. Almost hits 200 against Buffalo and 151 against Dallas. Two good defenses. Dallas maybe not so much anymore, but Buffalo for sure. Jonathan Taylor, you're watching this one to see if he gets ruled out. DraftKings did, unfortunately, price adjust already for him to be out, so that kind of sucks. Kyren Williams against Green Bay. Running backs against Green Bay is usually always a good play. And Kyren Williams is going back to his just do it all type of usage, to where Cooper Kupp, Puka's out. But we've known that. But the last 2 weeks we've kind of seen it. 43 attempts in the last two games, getting a few targets as well. But the red zone work has been a lot of Kyren Williams. And the Jordan Mason is a cash play yet again at 7,400. He continues to be, he's just been very, very solid so far this season. One game with 10 fantasy points, but the other three 20 plus, two of them over 25. So we've seen his price just skyrocket so far this season. I didn't think any of us thought Jordan Mason could do this, but he is definitely exceeding expectations in a really good spot against a terrible run defense in Arizona. Continue to go down. Worth mentioning, watching the Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce again for Cam Akers. Watching the Ken Walker, but I do believe he will be good to go. This one's worth mentioning. Brian Robinson possibly being out versus Cleveland gives you an opportunity for Austin Eckler, even though Austin Eckler is coming off just missing a game. But Josh Jacobs down here, 6,400. It's probably one of the next cash plays going against another bad run defense. And besides last game, or last two games for that matter of fact, but you go back to the first two games, and it seemed like Josh Jacobs was going to take on a really solid role for the team. Even last week, like, he doesn't get it done on the ground. He still averaged 5.7 yards per carry, and they were losing really quick. Like, they started to get down, they had to pass the ball. With the injuries going on in Green Bay, offensively, we could see Josh Jacobs get some more usage, especially in the pass game. So that one is definitely worth watching. I kind of really like that play. Chuba Hubbard against the Bears at 6,100. Bears are just continuously giving up a good amount of run chunks, like 5-6 yards here, 10, 11 yards there, maybe then get a stop, but they're allowing some good sized runs. So Chuba Hubbard at 6,100 is a solid play in that one. I think it's probably going to be, if I had to guess, a lower scoring game, but that means running backs usually get a good amount of value. Jerome Ford, if, I don't think Nick Chubb's playing, I think that's pretty clear, but Jerome Ford at 5,800 against Washington. I mentioned last week I thought it was a really solid play for his price point. Definitely paid off at 15.5 there. But Trey Sermon, 5,700. Like, Trey Sermon should not be 5,700 DraftKings. Like, I get it. We know he's going to be the starting running back if Jonathan Taylor's out, but he has not done anything worth being 5,700. Like, this is how messed up this is. DeAndre Swift, who's basically been the starting running back for the Bears, right, had 3 bad weeks, goes into week 4 and skyrockets. 29 is still cheaper. Well, the same price, but still the same price as Trey Sermon, who has not done anything. Like, I get it's a really good matchup for him, but it's also a good matchup for DeAndre Swift, right? Like, Cam Akers, he's been on and off of being the starter, but he is at 5,500, and we're going to go down here very, very soon and go over a great, amazing value play this week. But with that being said, yeah, I like DeAndre Swift again this week against Carolina. I do think Roschon Johnson's going to start getting more and more work, but DeAndre Swift, they did not pay him what they did, and he did not have as good of a game as he did last week to just be totally shut out. So I do like DeAndre Swift again this week. I do like Cam Akers this week against Buffalo if both those running backs are out. Continuing to go down, I think it's worth mentioning Justice Hill's been a very solid, technically RB2, but I mean, you've seen what he's been able to produce this season just in the receiving game alone, right? He's had at least 2 receptions, 2 games with 6. Is it the greatest play? No, but it's definitely worth mentioning at his price point. But yeah, this is like, these are guys of what I'm talking about. Zamir White probably out this week, which means Alexander Mattison getting a good amount of carries at 5,200 against Denver, who Denver's defense has definitely improved. But Alexander Mattison is 5,200 and he's produced this season. Why is Trey Sermon 5,700? Someone tell me that, because I don't know. Javonte Williams also 5,200 against Vegas, to where a guy in his running back room, unfortunately, major injury. We've seen him play some pretty good run defenses. The Jets, Tampa, Pittsburgh, Seattle. Like, as of right now, those have been some pretty good run defenses. So I kind of like Javonte in a bounce back spot at 5,200. Roschon Johnson, I mentioned 4,900 there. But we're going to get to the value at 4,300. This is what I mean. This is like, I'm not saying every week should be this week, right? But Trey Sermon should be 4,800. Tyrone Tracy in a tougher matchup against Seattle, with Malik Neighbors probably missing. Wan'Dell's been questionable. Devin Singletary's out. We're getting 4,300 Tyrone Tracy. Like, this is what he's done this season. Hasn't been too impressive, right? We can go and look at Eric Gray, what he's done, right? Hasn't done much. It's gonna be Tyrone Tracy, but he's 4,300. That's the pricing, right? If he was like 5,000, 5,200, this is a different story we're talking about. But you're basically getting a free play if Devin Singletary's out and Tyrone Tracy's there, right? Doesn't have to have a great game. If he gets you 10 points at 4,300, amazing, right? You save so much money getting a running back at that value. There's defenses are always going to be cheap, right? The most expensive defense is still cheaper than that. You save value in the running back position is crazy for this week, to where there's not a lot of top wide receivers that you need to pay for. But if you want to go and pay for one of these studs, you want to pay for Derrick Henry, Kyron, Jordan Mason, it's very doable if you have an RB2 that is 4,300, right? Typically, we're getting to like mid to high 5, 6, low 7. Like, you find a combination of doing it, right? Let's just throw it in, for example. You throw Jordan Mason in there, you're at 5,300, and then you go down and you put Tracy in, and you're saving $100 just off of there. But you're paying 11.7. That's pretty standard, and you're getting a stud running back instead of 2 running backs with like good matchups, but the fantasy points aren't always there. You're getting a guy that's had really good fantasy points and a guy that just needs you to get you 10 points in this matchup. So Tyrone Tracy, you could throw in Eric Gray, right? Eric Gray is what, $100 cheaper? $300 cheaper, Eric Gray, if you wanted to go Eric Gray and just take the chance on that. Like, Seattle's not the best run defense in the world. I mentioned they're a good run defense, but they're not the best run defense in the world. And with missing, I would imagine, missing Malik Neighbors and Wandell not being a full go, like you still have Darius Slayton, obviously, too. But you're starting to run out of options. So running back should be used. So the running back for the Giants should see some great value at their price point. If Devin Singletary is out, that is the key. If Devin Singletary's in, all of this goes away. All of it, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with the quarterbacks and running backs as of right now. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of question marks on the running back. Quarterback, not really, right? Anthony Richardson's pretty much the only guy we're looking at. When we go into wide receivers and tight ends on the next video, yet again, that's going to be a different story, and we're going to have more practice news on it. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.